Hi there, thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the news review, and our apologies, we encountered some technical difficulties this morning, and so with the news we had to truncate it, but we continue now with the tidbits from the newspapers. I'll be joined shortly by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He's a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But as always, this segment is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, here's what they're offering you if you're a man. Prostate screening for free. I know many of you have no idea what's going on in your prostate. I have a friend. He lost his father owing to prostate issues. Okay? So don't take it for granted. Don't think I am 30, I am 40. Oh, so it's all good to go. There are even 20-something-year-old men coming up with prostate issues. If you're a woman, do you know your fertility status? And so many people nowadays are coming down, women I mean, with fibroids, and all of that affects your fertility. Sometimes you get married and all of that and you're not even giving birth. You've not paid attention to that. There are some things you ought to be doing, even nutrition-wise. Now, this is why you ought to make tracks to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, because for both fertility screening for women, prostate screening for men, they're doing it for you gratis, free. Here's where you can locate them. In Spintex, that's here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronumabwehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estate. That's where they are located, Tema Community 22. Techiman Hanswe and Siama Nzima. Their call lines, 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review. Now, I want all of you watching me this morning, for those especially on social media, and if you're not there, just quickly get on Joy News on Facebook. The live stream is there. And share with me, what do you make, simply, what do you make of IGP Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare's performance so far at that parliamentary probe committee? I listened to practically all of it, maybe about 97, 98% of it yesterday, and I formed my own opinion so far. Of course, today proceedings will continue, but for you, from where you sit, what do you make of it? The things he said, his deportment versus those who came before him, among others. I'd love to hear from you via the live stream on Facebook, Joy News on Facebook. Let me now say a very good morning to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Good morning, sir. Hello, Doc. Okay. We'll be joined by Dr. Dampare, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I knew this was going to happen. Dr. Dampare, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. No, it's Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante who will be joining us this morning. We'll be joined by him shortly as we proceed with the newspapers. But our usual stack that we have here this morning, and we'll be going through all of these newspapers, starting with the Daily Graphic newspaper, and it starts from where we started. So, leaked tape saga. I am innocent of allegations. IGP tells committee. Of course, we know that they had said that he was, incompetent, and according to Alex Mensah, the worst IGP the country had ever seen, and he responded to those allegations yesterday. There's also voter registration records slow start, or records slow start, I should put it. It's used as a verb. Voter registration records slow start. NHIS covers bills of children with cancer, and this is a heartwarming bit for me. First National Bank rescues Accra Marathon, and we'll be telling you why it's a rescue mission. On the back page, Wesley Towers, new head office for Methodist Church, Ghana. Okay, so all of those stories are in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's quickly get into them, starting with the first one. I am innocent of allegations, IGP tells committee. And the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, yesterday told the parliamentary committee probing the leaked tape purported to plot his removal from office that he is innocent of all the, quote, baseless, false and wild allegations leveled against him by his accusers. He said he was never in cahoots with the former Northern Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bugri Nabu, to record the private conversation he, that is Nabu, had with his accusers, COP George Alex Mensah and Superintendent George Asare. Now, with tears flowing freely down his cheeks early during his testimony, I don't know about free-flowing tears, but I did see that he was about to shed some tears. The emotion-gripped Dampare had to fall on the consolation of his lead counsel, Kwame Jan, my former lecturer, proudly, as he told the committee that the, quote, mischievous allegations made by his colleagues without a shred of evidence touched on his person, his family, the police leadership he leads, and the entire police service. Following from there, quoting him again, he says, those wild allegations have caused a lot of pain to me, my family across the country, especially my wife and my children. The pain also goes to my command leaders and team and the thousands of policemen who appreciate the strides that we are making to transform the organization to be the best institution in the country and reference point for the rest of the world. However, the badly bruised IGP, a devout Christian, still found a place in his heart to forgive his accusers in spite of a suggestion by the chairman of the committee, Mr. Samuel Atachia, that it was premature to do so since he still had a pending in-camera session with the two witnesses. And you can picture them there. At the end of it all, there was Dr. Dampare hugging Superintendent George Asare and then shaking hands with Alex Mensah. And we also know that Bugri Nabu is going to be invited once more. Yesterday, he had been invited, but he had a chieftaincy matter to deal with, supposedly. So today, we'll see whether he shows up, but the IGP will be back in the dock, so to speak, before Parliament. Like I said, I have already been knowing who the IGP is. I have followed matters. I have listened to those who have accused him of myriad things, and now I've heard from him as well. I'm already beginning to form an opinion, but of course, as the proceedings go, we'll learn a lot more. Let me bring in Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I called you Dr. Dampare this morning. Dr. Asah-Asante, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. Long time. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You've been missing in action for a while.
Yes, I have, but I'm sure you know why.
I know.
Yes.
We'll not talk about it. Just leave it like that.
We'll leave it like that. Your quick thoughts on Dr. Dampare, and did you follow the proceedings yesterday?
A little bit of it because I had to do a few things officially. But I get the impression that the committee is doing a good job by giving the IGP a hearing, so that at least all the things that have been leveled against him, he will have his day to either accept them or refute them. And that is what is playing out. It is my hope and prayer that at the end of this work, this document that will be born out of this whole exercise will be put into effective use.
Okay.
So that whoever comes to office as an IGP, we will use this document to prepare the person into office and shepherd the person so that he's able to do his work without any fear, without any favor, so that institutions will grow, so that institutions will not be undermined, so that at the end of the day, we'll have strong institutions. That's my hope and prayer. Because as an institutional scholar, I believe that the police is a critical component of any meaningful democracy. So once you have a problem at the very top, all right, you need to deal with it head on.
Right.
So that whatever it is the case will be brought out. Whatever it is not, and it is allegation, will be thrown into the lake of fire. So that at the end of the day, we all proceed and we know the direction we are going. Institutions are necessary and need to be strong at all times.
When you look at everything that has happened so far, yesterday, obviously, palpably, visibly, the IGP was upset. He says this has impacted him, his family, the Ghana Police Service, all those who wish him well, and the entire nation. At a point, he nearly even cried, shed tears. At the tail end of it, he also said that, getting to the tail end, that he had forgiven those who had accused him in the persons of Superintendent Mensah and then COP Alex Mensah as well. In fact, Superintendent Asari and COP Alex Mensah, among others. But though you didn't follow all the proceedings, do you feel, with some of the things that have been said, and even those we may not know that will be said in camera, do you feel in the end they will unite the police service and make it better? Because the IGP said each time, with each IGP, he has learned from them, the good and the bad, the positives and the challenges.
As a human institutions, these things are bound to come. But a leader is the one who leads with a vision, with the courage, and the tenacity for purpose. So I expect whoever will be the leader to be able to put all these attributes together and lead with example. And that is what I'm looking forward to. It is not an easy task. It's a very tall order. But I believe that anybody who has gone through the ranks and is at the end of the day appointed as an IGP, that's what it takes to be able to lead that important institution. So I believe that it is a difficult one, but that men who are put there have what it takes to work around it. I have confidence in those who obviously become the leaders of such institutions and their service commanders. So it is doable. I know it is doable. They should be able to rise up above the occasion.
Doc, let's look at the other side. It's a human institution, and even the best leaders are still human, whether you're reading from ancient Greece or Rome or even in our current context. Today, right before I came on, I was also watching something about Joe Biden, and some suggested impeachment for him by McCarthy. Now, leaders are still human, and with some of the biting, scathing commentary on him, the most incompetent IGP in our history, that he doesn't listen to anybody, I listened to him talk about certain groups that claims had been made, he had formed this and that. And like I said, I formed my own opinion, but I want to wait till everything is done before I share that. Don't you also think that in some respect, this will create fissures, divisions within the Ghana Police Service?
Obviously, there will be that problem. There will be those divisions. But as a leader, you should be able to put all together and bring it back on its feet. That is all leadership is about. That you are able to address a problem that everybody thinks that, look, we have lost it. And that makes a leader. Leaders are not ordinary people. They are people who are born out of circumstances to deal with a problem or another. If you go back to history, things that Nkrumah, things that Buzia, Liman, Rollins, and the rest of them have gone through, it's not easy. But you, as a leader, you need to develop thick skin and have the tenacity of purpose to be able to weather the storm. It's not easy, but you need a certain mental toughness, a certain spirit within you that says that, look, you don't give up. You are not bothered about what you are being accused of, even though you are human, but that you do a good thing and that posterity will judge you. These are some of the things that will keep your head afloat on water. Otherwise, one or two scathing attacks, you are ready to pack baggage home. But I'm not sure that people that will put in position as IGPs, they don't have that metal. They have that, and they will be able to will stand that. Interestingly, they have a group of people as their service commanders who support them through thick and thin. And with the reliance on those people, I believe that they should be able to do the good job. If you listen to this IGP and his submissions, he kept referring to what? His team. Yes, a leader should be able to work with a team. So I'm sure the team that we have in the police service who manage the affairs of the police will be able to do the needful. I have trust in that.
Okay, let's get into other stories quickly now. Two stories that will definitely interest you. Page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Voter registration records slow start. And in fact, today we'll be taking our microphones to Kumasi in the Ashanti region and, gauging what the process has been like there. But according to the story put together by Dela Russell Oklu, the limited voter registration exercise began at a snail's pace across the country yesterday as the Electoral Commission started compiling the register for the 2024 general election. A common issue described across the centers as, quote, network challenge ran through the excuses of officials as the modest queues filed through in trickles. Regardless of this, the registration process for first-time voters across the country was a particularly smooth exercise at the EC's district offices nationwide. The EC is expecting to register up to 1.35 million people as it carries out the exercise for the first time since 2020. Despite threats of a court injunction and protestations, the exercise was noticeably smooth and prospective voters filed in an orderly fashion to complete the registration routine. It ends on October the 2nd. But let me find out from you, Doc. You have also followed the trajectory of all of this. Elections are a crucial part of our democratic, practice. There have been concerns about the EC, the registration requirements, and even this bit about districts. People have said that the distances and all of that. In fact, there are injunctions that have been brought to bear. The EC is going ahead. Yesterday, we had a conversation on this. What is your stance?
I'm particularly trying to find out why there is an injunction and still EC is going ahead with this program. I don't understand that. Maybe the lawyers will have to come in and educate us the more.
Well, Kweku Paintel, just to interject, Kweku Paintel joined us yesterday. He's a lawyer, and he mentioned that the mere fact that you run to court to seek an injunction in a process like this does not mean that everything will come to a standstill. Of course, we know that in some instances, when you give due reason that maybe the consequences of something that will happen will be so grievous, a stay may be put on everything until some conclusion is brought to the matter. But in this instance, he suggested that the EC can go ahead until, even as the court processes also mature. And then depending on what the decision is from the courts, then maybe they will take it from there. But my concern is if the process has started on this basis already, whatever the court may say, it already means that some people will end up on the wrong end of everything that has already happened. So that's that. I just wanted to interject with what we were told yesterday.
Yes, but further to that, I also listened on your network, the radio, about Papo Alote's also comment that he has filed a case at the High Court, and that is also pending, and that they've served the EC and all that. So I was wondering, yes, what is happening? So from his account, there are cases that are there's a rate at the Supreme Court and the one his at the High Court. We will leave it with the lawyers to handle and the courts. But I believe that if you look at elections, free and fair elections is what I'm talking about. One of the critical components of every free and fair election is what? Voter registration. It's crucial because this is where we get the people who the law says they are qualified to be on the books. The process has started and it's slow. I hope it will improve and then we get the best out of that. Anything that will work against it, I believe the election management body, and I'm talking about the EC, should be able to what? Address it and address it quickly. If you look at the comments from Asidi Nketia and from him, it points to the fact that there are certain, problems that are inherent in the process. I believe that all these things must occupy the attention of the Electoral Commission so as to be able to get all those first-time voters, get their names on the register. It is important because one of the important human rights is the right to vote and be voted for. So when you are denied that, it undermines your very person as a human being, and then the system of government that you believe in, the democracy that this country has decided to use it to run the affairs of its people. So I believe that this must be attention must be paid to this process so that we don't have many problems and all that. Once we get it right, I believe that it follows and we're able to build confidence. Election is about confidence building. If people feel shortchanged, they lose confidence in the election. But remember that after the 3 phases of election, the last phase, which is the post-election phase, where results are declared, you need the actors to accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. If people begin to doubt the process and they carry it through to the end, at the end of the day, if you don't take care, they won't accept results. And that, you and I know the consequence of that. We want to avoid that and then make sure that we get everybody on board. I also want to remind the public that this is a civic duty that we have to do, having at the back of our mind that there is a law that regulates our conduct. You don't need to send minors and those who don't qualify to be there. And anybody who wants to be used for that purpose, you have yourself to be blamed, because elections are meant for people who the law says they are qualified to take part. Any other person who is not qualified, please stay out.
Maybe the final bit I'll do from the Daily Graphic newspaper. Page 16, the middle spread of the paper. NHIS covers bills of children with cancers. And the National Health Insurance Scheme has covered the bills of 226 child cancer patients since June last year, following the addition of 4 childhood cancers to the list of ailments covered under the National Health Financing Scheme in June 2022. 136 children with cancers visited designated health facilities between June and December last year, while the 90 patients had visited health facilities this year. The acting senior manager, corporate affairs of the National Health Insurance Authority, Abdul Karim Natoma, told the Daily Graphic yesterday that most of the child patients visited the health facilities once, mainly teaching and regional hospitals, with 9 clients making 2 visits this year, while 3 others made 3 visits each. He therefore said that the scheme made reimbursements of about 250,000 Ghana cedis, then 143,143 Ghana cedis in 2022, and 100,937 Ghana cedis this year. Pictured there, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, Chief Executive Officer of the NHIS. And I'm bringing this up because childhood cancers are they are a very serious problem to deal with. I know there's this woman, in fact, yesterday she was in the news, whose child passed on the back of cancer, childhood cancer. And now she's taken up the initiative. Rebecca Kufuado has assisted, and they are doing marvelous things at Kolebu. So this is a positive for children. I'm always concerned when it comes to children and women's affairs. And I think it's a good step from the CEO of the NHIS. All right, so I think we'll leave the Daily Graphic newspaper now and move on to other papers. The Finder newspaper this morning says, high turnout, internet connectivity challenges greet voter registration. We've taken a look at that. Government committed to protecting legitimate mining operations. That's according to the sector minister, Abu Jinapor. The lies caused me severe pain. Dr. Dampare debunks all false accusations. EC directs officers to register voters offline when the need arises and safeguard integrity of justice system. Chief Justice says so. Doc, I'll take those 2 stories, the EC and the second twist, and then the one on page 5. So I'll start with the story on page 5. The 2023 Bar Conference of the Ghana Bar Association has opened in Cape Coast with a charge on members of the legal profession to safeguard the integrity of the justicial system. Chief Justice Gertrude Arabatokonu, opening the conference, said it was the duty of every legal practitioner in whatever capacity to ensure that their work produced the much-sought values of justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Quoting her, she says, "We are required to be guardians of rights, interpreters of the concept of justice, and advocates of justice for both the strong and the weak without fear or favor, affection, or ill will." Now, here's where it gets interesting. In recent times, former President Mahama has kept his onslaught as far as the judiciary is concerned, and stating that there is a packing of the courts. Yesterday, I unpacked part of that in terms of appointments to the Supreme Court. I wanted to limit myself to the Supreme Court. You would notice that if you look at the 17 under John Ajakum Kufuor, which is the highest in the Fourth Republic for the Supreme Court, the 15 that Akufo-Addo has had is next within a period of 7 years. Rawlings had 11 within a 19-year period. Atta Mills brought in 3, Mahama brought in 4, cumulatively 7 over the period that those 8 years. Some have said we need a cap on the justices of the Supreme Court especially. Others have said, like Kweku Painter, with whom I spoke yesterday, that the work of the judiciary keeps burgeoning. It's enlarging. We'll definitely need more judges. Fairness as arbiters. And then the Chief Justice and the President responded at the Ghana Bar Conference. What do you make of that particular situation? And how do you feel we should go about it in resolving it?
Yes, I have. I'm sure you recall my earlier submissions on this program about the need to cap it. Because if you look at the Supreme Court of the US, they have 9 judges who sit at a go. But what they have is that under each of the 9 judges, they have, at least each judge has about 12 to 15 lawyers, senior lawyers who work under them. All right. I think that example can be emulated so that we get the la creme de la creme sort of lawyers working the Supreme Court judges, so as allowing others to also flow into their earlier positions. Once we do that and we place a cap and we support the judges with competent lawyers to be able to do their judgments very well, I think this problem of politicization, overpacking of the courts and the rest of them will be a thing of the past. Because if you look at the US, at times you have certain instances where a whole period of time you don't have a judge resigning or somebody going out, and you have the same team in place who sit at a go on each case. The argument that now we are having different problems and our problems are increasing by the day and all that, so we need more. I differ. Because what is it that Ghana is seeing that the US has not seen? How many cases that we have in terms of everything that will supersede that of the US, that you need to have 15, 17 judges and all that? What is more is that these judges, per their rules of engagement, once they leave office, we are going to pay them their last salary till they die. All right. If you have more, can the country sustain this? So I believe that the way to go is to start with the capping, and then you support the judges with crack senior-most lawyers to support them to deliver judgment, so that you can have all of them, and then let's reduce the number. Once you cap it, you reduce your cap, and then you make sure that that team sits on every case, all of them, like as it happens in the US. I think if we're able to go on this trajectory, it should be able to help us to address some of these problems. Because packing them or adding more, because the law says that the law doesn't speak about a particular number, so you can add, it creates all manner of problems. And I believe that the way to go is to cap it, reduce the number, cap it, and then support the Supreme Court judges with a lot of experience lawyers to work with them. I think that's the way to go.
Alrighty, let's look at page 11 of the final newspaper. Limited voter registration, network challenges, delays exercise amid high patronage. And then there's also EC directs officers to register voters offline when the need arises. So the Electoral Commission of Ghana has directed its officers to register new voters offline if they encounter difficulties with the online registration system in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. This followed reports of network connectivity challenges related to the online registration system, which delayed the registration process in some centers on Tuesday morning. The EC had explained that the online registration system would make it possible to immediately detect the double registration at the point of registration. Dr. Sribo Kweku, Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, told the Ghana News Agency Tuesday evening that there were initial hitches with the system on the first day. What do you make of this charge? In the past, there have been concerns about this offline situation, and we always seem to have problems with connectivity issues, network issues, and all of that. Is this the way to go with the offline system, do you think?
I like the online systems. They are good because they are flexible and they are faster if the lines do work.
Right.
So all that the election management body have to do is to be able to ensure that before you go into such an important exercise, you get your lines activated and make sure that they work and work well. Once you do that, the aim for which you set up that infrastructure, you'll be able to achieve that goal. But when you have a very meaningful system like that, online system, and at the end of the day, due to internet connectivity, you are not able to achieve the purpose for which you set up the whole system. It undermines the system and it makes nonsense of the whole process. So I believe that before they embark upon this journey, they are in constant touch with the telecos to be able to be ensured that we have the proper infrastructure in place and is ready to deliver at the point of call. That is all.
Before we get to the next paper, I did ask some of you to share your thoughts on the IGP, his appearance before the Parliamentary Probe Committee and everything that had happened. Some of you have sent thoughts. Let me just take a few of them. Christopher Clove says, the IGP did well. His invitation was unfair because I believe it could be a plot to implicate him. My candid advice for him is to be careful about the things he says. For example, he should know what information to release. All right. Aaron Kokomisa says, good morning. The parliamentary committee that was set up to probe the leaked, this is a pretty long one, audio or videotape is now becoming serious. Security issues of concern, which indirectly, okay, so it's a bit convoluted, your statement. Akbaribo Christopher says, in fact, the IGP's submission yesterday was massive. He really exhibited leadership qualities. Well done to the IGP. There's also Hudu Abubakar Sadiq, who says, good morning, Ben. Watching you live from Ejura Sechedumasi in the Ashanti region. No matter what, I still believe in the IGP. Let me just leave it there. And then Agnes Agbo says, okay, so that's an unrelated message. Let's get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Next president will be an economist. That's according to the Attorney General. And of course, there's a context in which he says that. I'll bring you details of that. I won't step down, Kennedy Ejapong insists. There has been talk since Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen, and that's another issue I know you would definitely want to go into. Alan Kyerematen decided, well, enough is enough. Some have said it was the sheer humiliation of placing third and such a wide gap. Others have also said that it had to do with the machinations within the party, which he confirmed with his statement, skewed towards one candidate. But Kennedy Ejapong says, for him, no, nothing is going to make him step down or set aside his goal. There's also the devil is a liar. That's according to Baumia Ayo. And then it's all lies. IGP weeps over wild concern. So let's get into the stories. Page 6. That's where I'm going to be focusing my attention. Controversial presidential aspirant of the governing New Patriotic Party, Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, has served notice to those calling on him to step down that their wishes are a pipe dream. According to him, quote, I am not going to step down for anybody. When you win, then you win. So all of us, if we have to come together, then we come together. But coming together will depend on how we will conduct this November 4 election, because how they treated all of us on the 26th, I think it is not proper. Now, that is what I want to focus on. How they treated all of us on the 26th, I think it is not proper. People have said that Alan is blowing the matter out of proportion. But here is another person, Kennedy Ohene Japan, and he promised a showdown. He's saying the way things went were not proper. Let me just tie in the Attorney General's story. Godfrey Aboadame has suggested that Ghana's next president would be an economist as the country prepares to elect a head of state in December next year. Of course, I'm sure he is hoping that Dr. Bawumia becomes president. Of course, he is the known economist among them, though there are others with such a background. But I guess only time will tell. Doc?
Yes, I will start with Kennedy Japan. We have heard and we monitored the whole process of the NPP superdelegates elections. You, more often than not, you come across statements that, everything went on well, with the exception of one or two hitches. Let me state here now that even one hitch is bad enough to undermine a whole beautiful system that we have nurtured over the years. We don't need that. For elections that have gone sour, that have created problems for countries, it starts with just a little thing and degenerates into other things that you cannot control. So that cannot be used as an excuse. It is interesting that you have Kennedy Japan coming out in the fashion that he did. And for me, I applaud him for that, because internal democracy is critical for the sustenance of the larger democracy that we nurture in our communities. People are quiet about all the things that happen, with the exception of Alan, Boachie Jakon, and this time around Kennedy, coming out boldly saying that this is not what we bargained for. Let me quote Alan Chermatin. Because I can understand why you are going to elect somebody and there is intimidation, there is harassment, there is all manner of things that people complain about. I was expecting the party to put its foot down from the word go, when they even told everybody that don't campaign, don't do this. The parties kept quiet and allowed people a field day to misbehave. So I was not surprised that we got to the elections and these things happen. Why do you set up institutions? Institutions are meant to regulate the conduct of people and deliver the public good. But the party sat aloof and allowed people to misbehave. And then on the day of election, we saw the very things that people complain about at its apogee. I believe that this is not what the party bargained for. It is not a good thing. And that if they really want to remain united, they really want to be respected as a party that has imbibed the tenets of democracy, I believe that these problems must be looked at critically and addressed head on.
With Alan's departure, I mean, that is monumental with what Kennedy Ohene Japan is also saying. Do you feel whoever emerges as candidate for the MPP, how easy or tough is it going to be for them going against what the president will call a perennial candidate? If you listen to him at the Ghana Bar Conference, he referred to former President Mahama as a perennial candidate.
If you look at what is happening, if care is not taken and this pain, people continue to express it, you are likely to have a situation where those who contest that election will whisper a word into the ears of their followers, and then the rest of the people will shy away from campaigning or supporting the party towards the 2024 election. That is one scenario. If this thing also continues, you are likely to have the leaders themselves who will fall out of this process, not taking part in the campaign process, and they make sure that they rock the boat. If you have any of them, it will become so worse if you have any of them going as an independent candidate, even though research has shown that independent candidate, you will not survive. If you go and join forces with any political party, you will not survive. But what is going to happen is that if any of these options is used, the person is likely to pull, because all those who contest are giants, they are going to pull people away from the party. And remember, the electoral system that we have is the first past the post system. That
Right.
whoever finishes the finish line with one vote moves from a candidate to become what? A president. That is critical. So the numbers that those people will take away will obviously undermine the fortunes of the MPP. History has it, and you and I are alive to the history of the reforms which emerged as a protest party against the NDC in 2000. Where NDC lost marginally in that election, part of it or more of it could be attributed to the performance of what? Reforms.
Right.
In places, NDC lost about 6 votes and Reform had about 250. One would have thought that even 100 voted for the NDC, they would have carried a day. And that is the danger that is looming on the head of MPP. So I believe that they need to be sober and that deal with this problem and then try to reunite their front. And then don't do things to what? Aggravate the situation. Otherwise, I'm afraid they'll have themselves to be blamed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, for joining us this morning. Right before we take leave of you, just to give you these headlines, the Ghanaian publisher, I won't deprive anybody of their promotion, that's the IGP. And this final comment, Trips Montana says, those who don't know this IGP should get it now. He is a straightforward man. That is why some unpatriotic citizens are trying to plot against him. Bend is not his portion. Good morning. That's what you sent, Trips Montana. Doc, thank you so much for joining us.
Most grateful. I wish you a good day.
And I wish you same. That's how we cap off the news review this morning. Joining us, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And the segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Locate them here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanzo and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports up next.